Thanks for joining us on our comic book coffee break. I'm Nick Gunning.
I'm Eric Mickles.
This week I'm drinking Papa Nicholas's French Roast. I'm drinking it black, and I wised up this week. It's on ice, so it can get as cold as it wants.
Is it Papa Nicholas because you refer to yourself as Papa Nick sometimes?
I've never done that.
All right.
It just happens to be the brand. What do you got?
I'm drinking Surge. I've got it in a Spider-Man mug.
Is that true? Are you drinking Surge?
Surge is delicious, but in a really bad way.
Did you go shopping in like 1997? Where did you get this?
What? You can get Surge from some
Can you?
places. Yeah, they bring it back.
Wow. I remember the days of Surge and Jolt. Do you remember these?
Surge and Jolt?
Jolt? Yeah, Jolt was like...
Yeah, I do remember Jolt. I had to think for a second.
Okay, yeah. I don't think I was allowed to have those. I have had Surge a few times in my life. Isn't it just like intense Mountain Dew?
It's not great, but there's a nostalgia factor to it now.
Oh, definitely.
A lot of late nights as me. I don't even know how old I'd be, like 13, 12 or 13. Like, let's just drink Surge and play Counter-Strike and StarCraft and lose our minds!
Yes. Did you have, like, I'm originally from Michigan, and so Faygo was like the big...
I feel like
Faygo was everywhere. Do you like Faygo?
I don't think I've had it, but I think I've seen it.
Okay.
Maybe I've had it because you've shared it. I don't think I liked it.
Okay. Well, things like Rock and Rye and Faygo Red Pop, look out. I could drink those all night and have on multiple occasions. So anyway, would you like to tell where this show is from, Eric?
Where this show is from? Yeah.
Yeah.
This show is brought to you by the Radio Meanwhile Network. You can find more about this show and others like it on our network's website, radiomeanwhile.com.
Other shows on the network include Three Nice Things, where we force ourselves to say three nice things about a movie with a bad and often earned reputation. And that show is currently in production at the moment, right? What are you working on?
Yeah, we're watching Bulletproof Monk. Fun fact, Bulletproof Monk, I believe it's a comic book film.
Oh,
and
okay.
it is it's free on YouTube.
Oh,
so that tells you something.
Right. All right.
So
who's in that? Who's in Bulletproof Monk?
Chow Yun-Fat and Sean William Scott. A pairing that it seemed like the ages. Yeah, so I haven't watched, as recording this, I have yet to watch the movie. I'm watching it later tonight. So next episode, I'll probably just talk about it as well a little bit, but maybe not a lot. I've never read the comics. Maybe I could find the comic. That'd be fun.
Yeah, definitely. Get in there and do it.
Yeah.
Also, we have Radio 64, video game music remix radio, which I only recently found out was also available as a podcast. So I've been downloading it and playing it in the background while I read.
Yeah, it is.
Sorry,
because then there's me talking while you're trying to read.
That's all right. That's all right. I'm used to you talking while I'm trying to do stuff. Previously on X-Men, the podcast that looks back on X-Men comics, movies, shows, characters, and more. And yes.
No, that was
you just said more.
Yeah, we just talked Deadpool. Yeah, that was the last one.
About
We're
more.
doing the first two episodes of season 2, which I know is a big deal for you because a previously dead character might make a return.
Oh my gosh, are we talking? Do you want to put the spoiler thing up?
I want to put the spoiler thing up on the X-Men animated series? Yeah.
Season 2? Okay, tell me when.
Yeah, it's up.
The return of the previously thought dead Morph?
Yep.
Only now he has raccoon eyes and a real bad attitude?
Yeah.
That's a good time. Okay,
right.
Spoilers are in.
Spoilers down for 1992's X-Men animated series. Maybe 93.
And finally on the Radio Meanwhile Network, we have 9021 Here We Go, a 9021 rewatch podcast hosted by a 9021 expert and a 9021 novice, currently working through season 3 of the Fox hit Beverly Hills 90210.
That it's basically a contemporary to the X-Men animated series.
It is. We actually just caught up in that podcast to where the animated series debuted on Fox as well. So.
Yeah, so like, because they're both on Fox, they're around the same time. So like, it's only as you've been, because I've been listening to 902, and like she's like, Kendra will be like, this aired on this date. What else was going on this date? I'm like, this is like X-Men time.
Yeah.
So it's just funny how that worked out.
I think probably like Jason Priestley and Cyclops would run into each other at like network mixers and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a good time. It was a good time to be there. Anyway, let's talk some comic books.
Is Beverly Hills filmed in Beverly Hills, or is it also filmed in like Toronto?
No, I mean it's filmed in California.
Okay, so they're not all like Canadian actors.
No, in the school they use was also used in the Buffy the Vampire Slayer series. Is a real school, still like an active school, like in California. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty legit. So nice try.
Okay, sorry.
That's all right. Was this a slow week for you, comic book wise? You led me to believe that via text. Did you catch up?
Slowish. I read some stuff yesterday, but yeah,
Okay.
I've been reading. We'll talk more about it over on our All the Books Show podcast, where we talk book news, author news, and literary news.
Sure.
But I've been reading and finishing Educated by Tara Westover. So that took some of my comic book time away.
Yes.
But also been watching a lot of early Simpsons with my wife. So, yeah. And also, maybe I can get the camera over there. I picked up guitar again. But we can talk all about this on the other thing. So,
didn't one of your dogs also pick up your guitar again?
Yeah, and ate the strap in a big way.
Do a little chewing? Okay.
Yeah. All right, but let's, do you want to talk Hercules now or later?
Oh, whenever.
All right, well, let's talk about it now then. Because one of the things I read was Hercules... I'm turning my camera off. That was funny. Hercules Prince of Power, 1982. Hercules Prince of Power, 1984. And then Hercules Prince of Power Full Circle, which is like Marvel's graphic novel number 34.
Yeah, what a weird...
But that was in 89, so...
Yeah. Yep. But, they are all very connected. It's not like, each
there's just one story, yeah.
It is, yeah. It's just funny that it's spread out over the course of 6,
took me a while to realize that... It took me into, like, the 1984 one, that this was happening in, like, an alternate future.
Oh, okay.
That this wasn't, like, Hercules wasn't doing this as, like, 1982's Marvel was happening. This is, like, in the 24th century.
Right.
This is, like, 400 years in whatever Marvel future
we're
I
guess I didn't really think too much about it. Isn't there... I feel like there's another character that ties in with, like, regular Marvel, though, isn't there? Doesn't someone cameo?
Galactus.
Oh, Galactus. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, of course, Galactus. Yeah.
And Nova, who's his his herald at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, it's very continuity light. This is the only Hercules thing you need to read, and you don't have to worry about where he sits in Marvel.
Yeah. And they are collected, so the 80, 82, and 84 miniseries are collected in a nice hardcover that puts the two together. The third one is the one that's kind of a wild card. Like, it is out there.
You can get the graphic novel like it is, as they put it out, but you can also get it, and because it's like 70 or 80 pages, but you get that, and then you get a bunch of, like, other material surrounding that if you read that graphic. So I didn't read all that other stuff. I just read the graphic. On the Marvel Unlimited app, it's just the Marvel graphic novel 34.
Yeah, same for me. For me. And the basic, I think we talked about this a little bit, but the basic premise of this Hercules story, who's the author on that? I keep forgetting. Author, illustrator?
Bob Layton.
Bob Layton, okay.
Yeah.
The premise here is that Zeus is banishing Hercules, and Hercules at first is like, yeah, cool, I'll kick around Earth, be a god, hang out with the Earth people. And Zeus is like, slow your roll Hercules. I'm going to send you to outer space where you're going to be like a space stooge. And,
because he says on Earth, no one can compete with your strength.
Right.
It's no challenge for you. You'll never be humbled. So go out to space. It's kind of like that Planet Hulk situation where Hulk's the strongest one there is until he's on whatever the Planet Hulk planet was called, Sakaar.
Yeah.
So and suddenly he's like, oh, Hulk's still pretty strong, but yeah.
As a quick little cul-de-sac here, I watched the first episode of Hulk Agents of Smash.
Oh, all right.
Not great.
Yeah.
Not great.
Yeah.
I don't like they were all same with Ultimate Spider-Man. It was a contemporary where they're all like, hold on, and like talking to the camera.
Yeah, everything that came after Earth's Mightiest Heroes was pretty
thank you.
rough for a while. I haven't watched anything new.
Yeah, so it wasn't terrible. And I am sort of liking the current I don't know how current it is anymore, but the most recent Spider-Man series that's been on Disney is solid. It's got some weird choices, but solid overall. But anyway,
Hercules, Prince of Power. So Hercules gets sent out to space by Zeus.
Yes.
Which is funny because he's like, you'll be challenged, but Hercules is still pretty strong compared to everybody else. In
and
space.
He's just kind of living it up for the most part.
Yeah.
I feel like he's sent with a little sidekick who his mission is to just record Hercules' journey.
This little robot. I part of me feels like that recorder robot has been in something else I've read in the past, but I could be wrong. But he cracks me up. He's funny because he's like, I'm afraid of doing everything. So then he's just like, he's just in it.
just getting drunk and
this
like
recorder robot's like, life is
yeah.
great hanging out with Hercules.
I will say a complaint that I have about the series though is I feel like that is sort of underdeveloped. I would have liked it much more if that recorder if they focused a little bit more on that buddy element of it and made the recorder a more of a presence, because every time when they do that I loved it, but it was kind of few and far between. I feel like when they were really utilizing him.
So yeah, each issue is just Hercules dealing with a new thing and realizing he needs to stop doing the punch first, ask questions later routine. And then like issue 4 of the original one has him dealing with Nova and then Galactus himself, which is fun. Then Galactus took his helmet off, and I don't think that's ever happened in anything I've ever read.
That struck me as very weird to see Galactus without the helmet.
He just took it off, and he was just like a dude with like a tiny little pencil mustache.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like, what the heck?
Yeah, it was jarring, definitely. Yeah. And I didn't know if that was like a thing or not.
I haven't looked it up because like I've been reading Marvel comics for 20 years now, and I cannot think of a time I've seen Galactus take his helmet off. And maybe that means I haven't been reading the right stuff. But
I guess not Hercules, Prince of Power.
Yeah. He took it off. I'm like, that's your head! But no, it's his mask. It's crazy. Yeah. And 1984's Hercules has him kind of doing the rounds still, but there's also this ongoing thread throughout that Zeus is going nuts and killing everybody on Mount Olympus.
Sure
and, when Hercules finds out, he shows up and is like, Dad, what the frick? I won't fight you, but stop. And so they have this big fight. And then the twist, the twist at the, I guess I'll put a spoiler thing if somebody really cares about the twist.
Do it.
Is
up there.
Zeus was just kidding. I mean, technically, he did kill all the other gods, but they're in a different realm. Even though they are technically dead.
Yes.
And he was doing this to test Hercules, because Hercules still refuses to kill Zeus. And so Zeus is like, you passed. You make the new race of gods now. Me and the other gods are going to go hang out in whatever realm I murdered them into.
What a test.
And before we get on to... I want to talk about this first before we get on to the graphic. It's that I think... one of the biggest selling points of this now, besides the fact that it's just like non-continuity based fun, is that Bob Layton is just going nuts with like big sci-fi action art. And so like there's
Kirby-esque. I would say it's Kirby-esque.
Yeah, there's Kirby-esque stuff, but it's also like it has a Silver Age mentality, but a Silver Age mentality in like the early 80s. And there is definitely something that was in the air in the 80s at the Marvel offices. And I think you're just getting this wacky kind of like Star Wars inspired, Jack Kirby inspired, Marvel's 80 sci-fi action tale by Bob Layton. And like a lot of the art is like, it looks just like the cover, like black starscape with all those white dots spread, those crazy ships, a bunch of weird alien designs. So it's weird because it's a Hercules book, but it's very much really a sci-fi like far weird space tale. So
I thought it worked, honestly. I wasn't, I was reading it more just because it fit thematically with programming that we're doing at the library, and so I was like, I've never read these, so I wasn't like really eager to read them, but I ended up really liking it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought it was a good read.
I felt there's a graphic novel, as we said, the 1989 Hercules Full Circle thing that I thought was the weaker of the 3 series.
It was, but I sort of appreciated that they capstoned it. It was kind of nice to have like an end. Yeah,
I wonder if its weaknesses for me stem from the fact that there's like a 5-year gap in between them, and also like there's a different editor-in-chief at the time. Even his art seems it's 1989, but I mean, like, the 90s were already starting to take effect at Marvel at that point, the, like, 90s grittiness, and I felt like there was some of that seeping in that kind of took away from that, like, Silver Age goofiness that, if you showed that to kids at school, you might get beat up, or... Or even Harold is a Hero, like, he's got Hercules, Prince of Power!
Check it out, dude!
Awesome! But yeah, it was a good time, so... Yeah, and it's nice that it doesn't, like, fit in anywhere. You can just pick it up and read it.
True. So. Yeah. And they do. I mean, they go, even though, like you're saying, the third one is not as good. I do feel like the three together make a pretty complete story.
Yeah.
I think they do. Yeah. Prior to that, the only Hercules that I'd read was like Fred Van Lente stuff.
Yeah.
Like, is that post Planet Hulk?
The
post,
stuff
like,
that comes World War Hulk, because Hercules is brought by Amadeus Cho, and they're like brought to help or stop the Hulk. I can't remember what Amadeus is trying to do, but it's like his old champions and defenders team group. So they team up, and then because of the events of World War Hulk, Hercules and Amadeus Cho are like still together, and so they just go on adventures, and then so it becomes the Incredible Herc for a while. And I really like that book, like all the way through. I think that's Greg Pak as well. It just keeps going, and it tells a lot of like fun stories in there that are also very like kind of goofy. I like the Marvel Hercules because he is just like a goofy kind of he's just enjoying life, baby. He's just drinking life from a fountain kind of guy. So even when things are really depressing, he's still just, I mean, whereas another one might brood on a hill looking at the sunrise, or you're like, what are these awesome powers I must deal with? Hercules is at a bar looking for a fight. So
the Van Lente stuff that I think I only read the first volume, because that was around the same time where the Hulk titles just became so convoluted that I was just kind of like, I need a break. So I might go back and do that, because I did enjoy what I'd read.
Yeah.
And remember, we do have some great interviews with that author, Fred Van Lente, both on previously on X-Men and over outside of the Radio Meanwhile Network at the All the Book Show. So go and find those, because he was an interesting guy to talk to. I recently, since last week, read a more modern, I think it's like 2010, something like that. Hercules story called Wolverine Hercules, Myths, Monsters, and Mutants. By Frank Thierry and Juan Santa Cruz. Are you familiar with this one at all?
I feel like I remember seeing this come out, and I remember thinking, like, that looks like a pass.
Yeah, I wouldn't really recommend it.
Okay.
The parts where it's fun, it's like when Hercules and Wolverine are just like hanging out in a bar, just like being like, it's weird to be immortal, right? Like those parts are fun when they're just like drinking buddies. The story itself is I don't know, it's not much. There's a bit with Medusa, and I don't know, maybe I'll spoil it a little bit if you care to.
Okay. Again, you don't think it matters? Spoiler tag.
Yeah. Whoop. There is a fun bit where Wolverine is turned to stone by Medusa, and Hercules has to go to Pluto and be like, come on.
Yeah.
And
you mean
Pluto
Hades?
Does, like, no, it's Pluto he goes to. I don't know.
What? That doesn't make any sense. Hercules is Greek.
That's what it is in the book. He goes to Pluto.
Oh.
Sorry.
All right.
Hey, did we say in Hercules that he just sort of like amuses Galactus, and Galactus is like, yeah, all right.
Yeah, they get drunk. Well, no, he thinks he's getting Galactus drunk, and Galactus is like, I was faking. You pretending that you are pretending to not be drunk. That's what acting drunk is. So, that was funny. There was just no fun. Yeah. And then he shows up again, and he's like a balloon.
Yeah.
So, so I never picked up this thing.
Yeah, I don't.
What Frank who? Frank
Thierry and Juan Santa Cruz.
Yeah. I think he might be kind of considered a jerk by some people. I met him. I told him he wrote the first like Deadpool Wolverine comic I ever read. It was Return of Weapon X or anything. But yeah, I don't know how his standing is. I think he said a few things on Twitter that people like.
I see.
But
I see.
Yeah.
Well, keeping with some Wolverine team-up books, I also read Astonishing Spider-Man and Wolverine by Jason.
So you read this because of Wolverine and the X-Men?
No, not really.
Oh, okay.
This is by Jason Aaron and Adam Kubert, and no, I just sort of came across it. I think actually when I was reading this Wolverine Hercules, it was one of the you might also like. So I was like, oh, sweet, okay. I do. Do you know this book?
I haven't read it, but I mean, Jason Aaron is writing, Wolverine and the X-Men. And I'm pretty sure, is this the one that is randomly important because it takes Dog Logan from Origins time to modern times?
Oh, I don't know.
Does that not happen in this book?
Well, this, I mean, it's a time travel book. Like, it starts with them in the past, and things keep messing up. There's a twist in here
Mm-hmm.
that I was furious about, and you're gonna find it funny
Do I
when you
put up the
find out what it
spoiler?
is. You might as well.
Okay.
It's a Mojo story, Eric.
Oh!
It's a Mojo story. Mojo is putting them in time and having them intersect at different points in time and
Yeah.
messing with their relationship just
Yeah.
for his Mojo TV ratings. I was so mad
Mm-hmm.
because I hate Mojo.
Mm-hmm. You do.
I hate Mojo.
I don't know why, man. Get over it. Mojo's great.
It's not.
I mean, Mojo is very dependent on who's writing him and the story around there, but there's just a lot of fun Mojo stuff. That's not a spoiler.
Okay.
Unless it is. I don't know.
Well, it comes late in the game, and is a lot of time spent being like, what is going on? So I think it is. I think it is kind of a spoiler because nothing about Mojo is in the cover or anything about the books, you know.
Okay.
So I do think it is kind of a twist that you're not supposed to see coming, and I didn't, but, you know, I don't go looking for Mojo, so maybe that's on me.
Okay.
But it was okay. I don't like having it be like that. The thing that guided it made it way less interesting for me. I was much more interested in just seeing them trying to untangle the timeline that they had messed up. I don't think it really stuck the landing, but it was,
All right.
you know, the book looked good and it was interesting.
Yeah.
What about you? You got anything
I read
going on?
Hobo Mom. It's one of those like black and white indie comics, like big panels, very simple art. Reminds me of a couple of books I've read, but I can't remember those Jason books who does the dog world stuff. Moon Cop, like very kind of quiet panel stuff. A whole lot of graphic sex scenes, though. So you know it. Know that going in because I didn't. I was like, this seems like a little simple story. Basically, it's the story of a mom who has left her family to like kind of just be homeless and free, and she comes back because she wants to meet her daughter, and it's kind of this story of the husband being like, you can't be here, and then kind of being like, I want you to stay. But yeah, I mean, I'm not meaning to like harp on it, but the sex scenes do just like happen. You're just reading along, and suddenly it's like, whoa, they are doing that.
Wow.
So,
what imprint is this? This is
I should be saying the author. I'm sorry, I didn't say the author. It is Charles Foreman, and yeah, who put out? I read this on Comixology.
Okay.
Oh, I can't find it because it says it's French. My Goodreads is in a different language. I don't know how to change that, so I don't know who put it out. So Hobo Mom. It was interesting, but it didn't really go anywhere.
Okay.
Interestingly, I don't know. It's fine. It's a simple story, but like at the end, I didn't feel like I got a lot of resolution, which maybe might also be the point.
Okay.
I don't know. Every now and then I pick up these kind of books to be like, all right, what's going on here?
What's cracking?
Yeah.
Hey, you know, while we're on the topic of
Hobo Mom?
of Comixology and random things, I want you to read The Black Ghost because I want to, because it's a Comixology original. I want to read it, but I don't want to give Amazon my money. So
sure.
you read it and you tell me about it.
Right. Well, why don't you get a free trial and then cancel it?
I don't want to do that either.
Okay. I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Depending on how you feel about Amazon is how you'll feel about Comixology.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Okay. So, do you recommend?
I don't know if I do recommend Hobo Mom.
Okay.
I guess if like you're looking for these types of comics, the non-superhero, the kind of like slice of life indie stuff, just kind of about people. Maybe. I mean, I kind of gave it 3 stars, thinking it was fine, but it didn't like do it for me the same way that like these types of comics do. I'm not sure if I've ever read anything else by Charles Foreman. Charles Forceman. But the art style, I mean, he did I Am Not Okay With This, The End of the Effing World, Slasher, other stuff like that. So I might read other stuff by him, All
right.
But yeah.
Okay.
I read Chrononauts by Mark Miller and what is it? Sean Murphy. So Sean Murphy, I couldn't remember where I recognize his art from, but it's from the American Vampire stuff. So
okay.
I think I bought.
Is that Scott Snyder?
Yeah.
American Vampire? Okay.
Man, I have dog hair just flying in the air at all times. No, so Chrononauts by... oh, you know what? Isn't Sean Gordon Murphy... Or am I thinking of someone else? Is he not Batman White Knight?
Oh, I think you might be right.
Isn't he like the writer and... Yeah, Batman White Knight. He's the writer and illustrator of there. So that's what you know him from. But so Chrononauts is Mark Miller, and your mileage on Mark Miller is definitely going to depend on how much you enjoy Chrononauts, because it is just about these two scientists who are 100% bros. Not like bros that they're best friends, but bros that they're also just like, bro, I'm gonna date Marilyn Manson. Not Marilyn Manson, Marilyn Monroe.
Very different experience.
Yeah, early 90s Marilyn Monroe, man. I'm gonna see what it was all about. No, so like the idea is that they've invented time travel, and it's being like televised and run by government in the same way that like the space launch is. So like the moon landing is the same thing. They're chrononauts. It's a thing. And so they go back in time, but the first one goes back in time. He just starts messing up stuff from the beginning because his life is no good. So he starts going to like Vietnam and World War II. He starts collecting all these tanks and stuff, and he then goes to like a much more ancient time and becomes like their ruler because he's got all this stuff, and they hail him as like a god and everything. And then they're just like traveling around time, doing stuff. He's like, I'm dating Marilyn Monroe. We're making money here. We're traveling through the 20s. I'm hanging out with this guy, and the government is after them because of this. And it's definitely a reference to like the DeLorean, because basically they can travel with anything they're touching. They can do that. So at one point, as the government is after them traveling through time, one of them just gets a fast car, and now they're just this huge car chase through time over like canyons along the Great Wall of China. And like, so there's like ridiculous action scenes. But again, these characters, they're as likable as you can stand. The whole like we're just having a good time. Why are people after it? Like, everything that's going wrong in this book is 100% their fault, and they just don't care. And at the end, when they're like, maybe we should fix things, I don't know. It's just because they should fix things because what's happening to them isn't so groovy anymore.
Right.
You know? So they don't talk like, oh, bro, this is great, but they might as well.
That's a mistake.
They might as well. Like,
I mean, I'm a sucker for time travel stories, so maybe I do need to read this.
Yeah, I remember I got it on sale on Comixology, but and a sequel just came out. But it's not so cheap. So, yeah.
Did you know that in the original plans for Back to the Future, the time machine was going to be a refrigerator?
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I did know that. Yeah, isn't that
crawling
gross?
in refrigerators?
Yeah, it's so dumb. Yeah, it can travel through time. It's a refrigerator.
Get in the refrigerator, Marty.
Yeah. So Chrononauts, I liked it. It's not. I don't think
That's
it's
a croissant donut. Is that what that is? A croissant cooks like a donut.
I don't think it's one of Mark Miller's like best, but Mark Miller has this like bombastic, kind of obnoxious style that tends to work for me, which makes me have to always kind of like do some introspection. I'm like, why does this stuff? But like back from his days writing I got into comics when he was writing the Ultimates in Ultimate X-Men. I mean, Ultimate X-Men is kind of like a pivotal book for me in terms of me like reading a book on the regular. So I've got a soft spot for like Mark Miller's ridiculous style. Not all his stuff lands. I think I hated Wanted, but Chrononauts is just kind of goofy fun. And I remember really liking Huck.
Oh, yeah, I read that. Yeah.
So anyway,
I didn't love it or anything, but I enjoyed it. Had a good time with it.
I read Chrononauts too. So
speaking of time travel, hopping over to DC for a minute, I read Crisis on Infinite Earths, Paragons Rising.
Yeah. So the reason why I had a hard time looking for this cover is because it's related to the CW.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Did you find it?
Yeah. No, I found it once I realized what we were talking about here.
Okay. So this is kind of interesting because it's written by Mark Guggenheim, who is, works on the CW shows,
Right.
but also Marv Wolfman and illustrated by George Perez, from the original Crisis on Infinite Earth. So I was excited to read this because, the CW shows certainly have their flaws, and I feel like if they were all 10 episode seasons, everybody would be better off. But I thought that the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover was very well done overall. I thought it was just handled really well and was really good. Whatever it is, 5-6 hours of television. I was really impressed with it. So I was excited when I heard that they were going to do something in here, to tie in with that and have some original stories, because it moves quickly, even though it's over multiple hours. It moves quickly and there's things you don't see. I was a little disappointed with the execution of this. It focuses really heavily on the Felicity Smoke character, who I understand why they do it, because the Arrowverse is in love with that character.
Yeah.
And she is pretty sidelined during that arc.
Do you think it's because I remember reading this thing about how a lot of comic book readers like Tim Drake as Robin, because in a lot of ways he's a comic book fan. That's how he figured out who Batman was, just by being a Batman fan. And so part of me thinks that maybe they love Felicity so much because she's the audience character.
I don't know.
She's like us. She thinks all this stuff is cool. I don't know.
I think there's multiple things at play here. I think first of all, that character, the techie girl sidekick character, is an archetype that you see, throughout comics and TV and movies. 90210, perfect example. The Andrea character, Smallville, the Chloe Sullivan character, same kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I thought Felicity was actually
whatever happened to Chloe Sullivan?
Yeah, let's leave it. I thought Felicity was super cool in the beginning until it became a romance thing, and then it was no, we're gonna do away with the stereotype of them not getting together.
Arrow?
I guess in season 2.
Snap.
Yeah, I mean, once the relationship was the centerpiece of that, I thought she lost a lot of her coolness and her agency. So I was always disappointed with that. Right. But anyway, in this story, it focuses a lot on
critique. I've seen the same critique at Annie on Community, that she was her own character, and then once the whole Jeff Annie shipping thing happened, Annie just kind of, that was her thing for a lot of stuff. She's an overachiever, but she's just really into Jeff. So,
that was. Yeah, I do think that was poorly handled, but I understand why they struggled with it, because they just all of a sudden had this amazing chemistry.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. When you have that chemistry,
it's hard to walk away from that. But
but anyway, Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Yes.
Paragon what is it called? Paragons Rising?
Paragons Rising. Okay. Yeah. So there's really 2 stories in here. The main story is Felicity going through trying to get answers on how to find Oliver. And so it's not even really her story. It's her going to people. 90% of the images of Felicity in this are her with her mouth wide open, yelling at someone, find my husband. It just wasn't a particularly compelling read. Right. It does get points for showing things that the TV show couldn't. It goes through a couple different Earths, and you go to Earth F, and it's the
yeah. We're not all the book show. I can make those jokes now.
You can, yeah. Feel free.
Earth F.
It's the Max Fleischer cartoons.
Oh.
And so that's kind of cool to see that. Yeah. And then they go to Earth 76 or something like that, and it's a Linda Carter Wonder Woman. Things that obviously they couldn't do the animated stuff in the show, and then they, for whatever reason, didn't do Linda Carter's Wonder Woman. I was really hoping while we're there, give me the Lois and Clark that I wanted, but
all right,
no Lois and Clark.
Yeah.
So
to
I was
be
pretty
fair,
underwhelmed.
I think Dean Cain is giving you the Lois and Clark you didn't want.
That is 100% the truth. You are absolutely right about that. Every time, I see some headline, it's Dean Cain. I'm la 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 la.
Yeah.
Dean Cain retired from acting in 1998 and never spoke again.
When I played Superman, I was playing a Superman who would have crapped on an orphan. He would have just flown in the air and taken a big old crap on an orphan.
The second story in Paragons Rising is all of the Lex Luthors from across the different... different iterations and different eras of comics get together and decide that they're going to take out all of the Supermen across the multiverse. Right. And that story is much shorter, but it's really cool. And there's a lot of fun little.
This seems the story I'd want to read.
Yeah.
In just DC continuity period.
Yeah.
Why hasn't he done that?
I don't know.
Whoever's in charge, just steal that story. Say it's an homage.
Watch Crisis.
Right.
If you're not gonna catch up with the Arrowverse,
I'm gonna.
I think that you should just watch Crisis.
Gosh,
because
it's just been a weird time. I didn't plan on 2020 being this way.
This is a weird time, you're saying?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. This just in. Anyway, I don't really, like if you can get a free copy of it, if you can check it out from a library or something, and I think it's an interesting thing to see, but it's not particularly well executed, and I was ultimately disappointed with it.
Okay. All right.
What else you got going on?
Oh, have you read any? This just in. Yeah. Dean Cain says the Titanic sinking was a conspiracy by the Democrats.
Can't hear.
All right.
Sorry.
You can't hear me apologizing now either. I'm done. Basically, we're learning that there's a lot of
comics.
Am I reading any mainstream comics? I read Hercules.
Well, are you in like any? Yes, 1980s Hercules is what I would call mainstream comics. Any more contemporary Marvel or DC that you're working on? Because I still have several to go here.
Not any contemporary ones. No.
Okay.
Sorry, man.
What else you got?
I'm still reading Shadowman.
Yeah.
So Shadowman.
And you're like all in on Shadowman at this point.
I'm going to read it. They take me a little longer to read because they're they're not as like there are some comics that are dense the further back in time you go. But okay. But I think it's because of the slight standalone nature. But now there's kind of an ongoing character showing up. The more I go through, it's just fun. It's dark. It's just cool in a '90s way that you can't replicate anymore.
Boy, this is confusing.
What?
I'm just looking at all the different Shadowman collections.
Yeah, no, the one you'd have to read if you wanted the collection is like. Because they haven't really collected this old stuff. There's like 44 issues. The Valiant Masters Shadowman, Volume 1, Spirits Within, is what I marked on Goodreads anyway.
Okay.
But I'm reading these, again, on Comixology, because if you have a Comixology Unlimited subscription, you can read all the single issues here. So that's how I'm going through it. But yeah, these are the 1992 to 1995 series, and I'm just reading through it. It's fun. At sometimes during the day, he's like, every issue he's like, what's happening? The Shadowman persona is taking over. Maybe I should do something about it. And then night happens. He's like, what am I talking about? Shadowman's great. Woo!
I see that Andy Diggle does a run on Shadowman in a later iteration.
Yeah,
looks like current. Really, it looks like 2019. This is coming out. So
it's funny because like sometimes he'll just I don't know. It deals with some stuff. Like he's playing the saxophone, but then it's like nighttime, and people are like, "Wow, that was some dark saxophone playing, man." He's like, "Whatever, I gotta go be the night." Sorry. He goes on a date. He's Shadowman, and he's like, "I gotta stop being Shadowman. I gotta go on this date." And then it's like the next morning, he's like, "Sorry about some of that stuff we did last night." She's like, "I liked it." It's just.
Jeez.
It's just it's taking over everything. But he's like,
wow.
I don't know. Sometimes people are capturing him in the daytime. He's like, we'll show you. He's like, oh yeah, it's nighttime now. Punch, punch, punch. So
wow. It's Shadowman.
Yeah. So they'll turn lights on him. He's like, okay, that's cool. What if I broke the light? So, yeah.
He sounds intense.
Now things are happening. They're getting even more ridiculous, especially now that it's not doing that weird crossover that it came into. But
yeah.
Anyway.
I finally sat down and read the first volume, the first set of issues of Jack Kirby's Jimmy Olsen Adventures, Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen. And I just had random issues of this, and I've never sat down and read it straight through. I was a little underwhelmed by it.
You have to. I think this collected in the fourth world. Yeah.
There are several different ways. The fourth world omnibus or whatever you want to call it. It's like 4 volumes, and each one is 3 issues of Jimmy Olsen, 3 issues of Mr. Miracle, 3 issues of OMAC. So you can get it that way. Mm-hmm. It's collected in 2 volumes, and then there's within the last year or so there was just a brand new hardcover collection of really all the DC Jack Kirby stuff. So I'm probably going to get us New Gods for the library with the movie, being talked about and everything, because it's a nice collection of that. It's not great, and the history of it is interesting because Jack Kirby essentially goes to DC to do the Fourth World stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, while he's at it, give him the lowest selling book over there, which happens to be Jimmy Olsen, and then just like let him do whatever he wants. So it's noteworthy, this first volume here, because it is the introduction of Darkseid, who comes in. You see, he's sort of.
So you own this?
No, I just read it on the app.
Oh, okay. I thought I was like, don't be telling people that you have a physical copy of this. How much is this going to run you? Maybe not much.
Honestly, I might, because I have a lot of random Jimmy Olsens.
Oh, that'd be wild.
It's cool because
10 cents?
because of that, because like you see, first for a long time you see Morgan Edge clearly being manipulated by someone. It's not till a little later that you see that it's Darkseid. All of that stuff is cool. What really drags this book down is the Newsboy Legion. Do you know what the Newsboy Legion is?
No, but I do know the Christian contemporary band, the Newsboys. Does that have anything to do with the Newsboy Legion?
Separate. Okay. It is separate.
Is that what they call their fans?
They might call their fans that. They might.
So the Newsboy Legion is not Legion of Superheroes.
No.
Oh gosh, is this just gonna be like the Newsies, but like?
Yes.
Oh no.
Essentially, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I read the whole volume. I don't know what the Newsboy Legion is. It is
just a bunch of newsies are like, Superman's in trouble. Let's get our paper out.
You're right. You got it.
Is that true?
Basically, yes. It is so in the 40s, Jack Kirby, Joe Simon were doing
so he brought it
the Newsboy
back.
Legion. It's like in the Golden Age. And so this is like the children of the original Newsboy Legions.
We were always wondering.
I know. And the OG Newsboy Legion comes back as like their parents, And it's just, it does not fit in this book. It's like you've got this whole thing with like Jack Kirby's Fourth World like going on, And that is interesting. And it's interesting to see Superman.
It seems like a
playing
good
second fiddle. It's a weird use of Superman, but
seems like a good combination of like Jack Kirby's Fourth World stuff and the Newsies would be Paper Girls by Brian K. Vaughan.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
So I wonder how much inspired he was by that then. Maybe.
I had heard, and so far I haven't really been able to like prove this, but I'd read at some places that the illustration is touched up by other artists to make Jimmy and Superman more in line with, the contemporary designs of those characters. And like, I haven't seen that like written in stone by the hand of DC Comics, but it does stand out a little bit that when it's close-ups of Superman and Jimmy's face, they do not look like Kirby characters.
Right.
So I'm actually a little disappointed by that, because I would like to see, what that looks like.
Yeah, the square-jawed Kirby stuff.
So
yeah.
I'm definitely going to read the next volume, but only there's like 4 issues of it that aren't on the DC app. It just stops abruptly at issue 144. And so the last 45 through 48, I have to track down elsewhere. So I'm going to have to get a hard
Olsen.
copy of this.
Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen. What number?
It's like
start 113.
I want to say it's like 137. It's not that many issues.
All right.
It's not that many issues. It's something like that.
Okay.
In the 130s to 148 is.
Did you read any other Jack Kirby then?
I did. I read Marvel Masterworks Captain America Volume 1. So as you'll recall, a few weeks ago, I had read what is collected as Volume 3. It's when the title takes over as a solo Captain America adventure. And I was going to read the next volume, but then I was like, I don't know. It's not that many issues leading up to it. So I picked this up, and reading this on the app, you just have to sort of cut it in half, because at this point, Tales of Suspense is
Iron Man and Captain America.
Yeah, it's like co-leads. And so, I just jumped to the Captain America sections. I didn't read the Iron Man bits. Yeah. But it was kind of a weird collection, because they cannot decide if they want to do World War II stories or contemporary stories. Yeah. So it starts contemporary, and then quickly is like, but I bet you guys want to see World War II stories. Yeah. And we're like, And so they do that for a couple issues, and then they're like, fans demanded contemporary stories. And it's kind of all over the place. Yeah. By the end of it, with there's a big struggle with Captain America and Red Skull going after the Cosmic Cube. Yeah. And that stuff was pretty good, but it's kind of hard. Yeah, but it's kind of hard because it's only like 10 pages. So, it's really like herky-jerky storytelling. So I've got one more volume of that. So Masterworks Volume 2, and then I'll be caught up to where I sort of started, and then I'll just move forward ahead of that. But
did you read,
I do like.
Yeah. I was going to ask if you've read anything that have maybe consequences going on or anything. Are any characters dealing with consequences?
I have, yes, certainly.
I read Avengers. That was a sloppy segue, sorry.
Very sloppy. Avengers versus X-Men, consequences. I mean, Captain America was in the other one. You could have just said,
I know, I should have said something.
Easier.
I'll put up a spoilers tag for here. This is a spoilers tag for basically both Avengers versus X-Men consequences, but Avengers versus X-Men, because it's like a 5-issue... basically the fallout of the big event, and then they do these 5 issues to show you like the new status quo and what's going on with Cyclops and everything after that. So if you don't want to know what happened in Avengers versus X-Men, I guess from what did we say, 2011?
Yes, 2011.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you can tune out or skip ahead, but here we are. Let's do it.
So this is by Kieran Gillen and Tom Rainey, and I have to say I was pleasantly surprised by this, because usually when you have a big crossover and then they have books that go along with it, they're like completely pointless. But I felt like this was actually like very substantive, but very meaty.
I remember liking the post-Civil War stuff. There was one, I don't know if it was called Fallout or War Wounds or something, but it was like dealing with some of that stuff, and then they dealt with some of the Death of Captain America stuff. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's like, I don't care. It always just feels just like a commercial for whatever's coming next. But this one was important.
It was very important, yeah. And it's confusing because I have read in its entirety the run of All New X-Men, which is the next thing here.
Yeah.
So it's like I've seen that, and now like reading it in reverse order, like out of context, is a little bit confusing. Yeah. And I was trying to figure out like what X-Men I should be reading after this, because...
Well, it would have been... Because it's Wolverine and the X-Men just keep continuing along for a couple volumes. And then you would have just hopped on to All New X-Men.
Right.
So, yeah. And then Uncanny X... So I guess what for you next is Uncanny X-Men by Brian Michael Bendis, because that's dealing with Cyclops and his like Revolution team. Okay.
And also Uncanny Avengers.
Yeah, though you might... I mean, Uncanny Avengers is... It's kind of like a side title. It's like their unity team. It's the idea that like Captain America realizes he's been failing at his job when it comes to mutants. And so it's some Avengers characters and some X-Men characters, and they're forming a team, and they're showing that the world and mutants can live together. But it's not the main Avengers title, and it's not the main X-Men title. So it kind of just becomes a read onto its own. So
okay, so I have several questions for you right now.
Yeah, let's do it.
One is, I have not enjoyed Wolverine and the X-Men up to this point. And so I'm trying to decide if there's any reason for me to continue that story. Is there?
I mean, I just like it.
Right. But like, as far as like, because it seems very separate. It seems like what they've got going on is very separate from everything else that's happening. And I'm just trying to decide, like, if I'm not liking it, is there a reason for me to continue on in the grand scheme of things?
I can't remember. I mean, some of the stuff like Kid Gladiator and Quentin Quire is picked up in other stuff, but...
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if you're not liking it, you could probably just drop it, and then you just read why this is a thing somewhere else.
Okay. So, and now,
you poor soul.
So I've finished All New X-Men, but there's like an all new X-Men, isn't it?
Yes, there's the all new X-Men that you're reading, but then the book gets relaunched, I think twice.
Okay.
After with different writers. So
okay. So I've read all of All New X-Men. I've read the Cyclops series by Bendis. I've read the Cyclops series, and that's all sort of like coalesces in Black Vortex. So the next step after that is the reboot of All New X-Men.
You've read Bendis's Uncanny X-Men, the one that comes after Avengers versus X-Men.
No, I guess not then. I guess I haven't read that. Just All New. I haven't read Uncanny. Right. So I need to read Uncanny X-Men, Uncanny Avengers if I want to.
Yeah.
What about that Jean Grey solo book?
That's later.
How later?
Like the third relaunch of All New X-Men, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
it was fairly recent. Yeah, it was like 20. Okay. Gosh, I'd have to look it up, but maybe 2017 or so. So,
okay.
Yeah, it was 11 issues. It tied into the whole Resurrection of Jean Grey thing. Okay. Yeah. So I guess I'd say the Bendis Uncanny X-Men, and if you like what you see, it's Rick Remender.
Yeah.
Is Uncanny Avengers. And I didn't like the first volume, but then I really got into the other stuff. But that's because the other stuff gets crazy and weird and alternate reality kind of stuff. So maybe you'll be like, no thanks.
I'm considering trying out the Thunderbolts that happens around that time with Red Hulk and Ghost Rider.
That was never as fun as I wanted it to be, but you like Red Hulk a little bit more than I do.
I do.
What was the other thing about this? Oh!
I mean, where do Avengers go? After the current, like, the Bendis set that's about to end.
I don't remember.
Okay.
Because I picked up Uncanny Avengers, but I was just reading my X-Men stuff, so I didn't really like follow the Avengers line. I guess this is where I might even have to go to. I'm not really sure what the last Avengers thing I read is like currently, because I haven't read Jason Aaron's new Avengers stuff.
Okay.
Because really, I think I just picked up Uncanny Avengers. That's what it is. I read Secret Avengers, which Rick Remender did, and then I read Uncanny Avengers, and then I kept reading Uncanny Avengers when Gary Dugan took it over. So yeah, I didn't read any of the mainline Avengers stuff post this. This was something too, because like a lot of it basically ends all the Utopia stuff. Like everything that's been going on with the X-Men, the Utopia stuff, the whole like Magneto's there, Danger's part of the X-Men. I mean that stuff happens, gets like kind of in this Consequences series that kind of got its like what's the word? Finality, I guess. Not finality. Okay. Closure a bit. The whole that stuff. So yeah, and Sinister. You had some Sinister in there.
Yes, of course.
What? You don't like Sinister either?
I don't like that. I don't like that Sinister.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's around now.
Okay.
You get on. Are there any X-Men villains that you dig?
That's a good question. Give me some. Throw them out.
Apocalypse?
I don't think I've read much of
Mystique?
Apocalypse. I do like Mystique, yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll stop at Mystique. Juggernaut?
Yeah, I like Juggernaut, okay. Oh, I still don't really get why Colossus is Juggernaut. I read
Fear
it.
Itself, right?
I read it. I just don't really understand.
Because there had to be somebody who had Juggernaut's power. The god had to have an avatar on Earth. Be a
Juggernaut.
And so Colossus was there. But wasn't Magic there when Colossus said yes to taking the power, or was she not?
I believe so. I think she was, yeah.
Right. And then, because I've still got the spoilers tag up here, so I'm going to spoil the whole thing with this. Consequences is where Magic reveals that she was like wanting Colossus to ruin his life. Yeah. Right? And it's just like, now you know what it's like to be me. And Colossus is like, you! But yeah, that was something that I kind of felt like, whoa, that's toxic.
I'm the things that I sort of left in the dust while I was doubling down on Avengers vs. X-Men would be the Red Hulk run that I was reading, and is it Jason Aaron's Hulk that's right in there?
Maybe.
Okay. And the relaunch of the Brubaker Captain America run that restarts with #1 there, and Avenging Spider-Man. So that's sort of the area that I'm going to tackle in Marvel right now. Yeah. I watched something.
Okay.
I didn't even realize this was a thing, but I watched Marvel Rising: Secret Warriors. Do you know about this?
Yeah, I know about it, but I haven't watched it.
Okay. It was not very good. It's primarily Ms. Marvel and Squirrel Girl, although the lead up to it has a lot of Spider-Gwen, who they're calling like Ghost Spider.
Yeah, they call her Ghost Spider now. Well, I think it's because she was Spider-Woman, but now she's joined Marvel Universe proper. Okay. Marvel 616, and so there already is a Spider-Woman. So she had to change her name to...
All the stuff with Gwen and like the little shorts leading up to it were cool, but she's not in the movie at all. And they really doubled down on the Inhumans in this movie, because I guess the Kamala Khan version of Ms. Marvel is an Inhuman, which I was not aware of. Did you know that?
Yes-ish. I've read the first volume of her series, but I doubled down on all my X-Men stuff, so I didn't continue it. But yeah, that tracks that she got it from the Tajarian Mist and everything, so...
It ultimately was pretty boring. It was like Squirrel Girl was really funny, and when it was just them like hanging out together, it was good. But the whole Inhumans plot
Who's the fiery character?
Just didn't work.
On this cover I'm looking at?
The guy?
Yeah.
The guy? I want to say his name was Blaze? I don't know. And there was a Captain America sidekick called Patriot, who I've not bumped up against in comics
the Young
before.
Avengers.
Okay. And Captain Marvel is in it
He's
a little
not really
bit awkwardly
sidekick.
voiced by Kim Raver from Grey's Anatomy or Lipstick Jungle. Not a good voice for Captain Marvel. My wife was not impressed. So ultimately we found this boring. But it did encourage my wife to pick up the Squirrel Girl comic, which she's never read, even though she loves Ryan North. So.
Oh yeah, we have the library. You guys have like 8-10 volumes of that. It's been a popular series.
Yep.
So.
It has. Yeah.
I've read some Squirrel Girl stuff.
Squirrel Girl.
Yeah. She showed up in my X-23 all new Wolverine stuff I was reading. But I haven't read the Squirrel Girl series. But I hear it's very funny.
The only thing that I've experienced of Squirrel Girl was Bendis' New Avengers, where she's just Jessica Jones' babysitter. Yeah. And it was not a good representation of Squirrel Girl. So I read one more thing, and then we can move on to our recurring things here.
Okay.
Green Lanterns Volume 5, Out of Time. This is by Sam Humphries and Ronan Cliquet, among other illustrators involved. This is the title that is sort of the rookie Green Lanterns, Jessica Cruz and Simon Baz. I really like them as characters. I really like when they're buddy copping them up and they're just kind of like dealing with their insecurities and being like young Green Lanterns in the shadow of like Jon Stewart and all that. I really like that. This book just they're catapulted like, you know, millions of years into the past and are interacting with the first Green Lanterns and sort of have to like train the first Green Lanterns. And so it's this huge, like, epic story. And then they're, like, bounced back home and they, like, go to this party and are, like, not getting along with their friends. It's just, like, such a weird jump from this intense, like, sci-fi plot to them just, like, not fitting in with their regular crowd. A lot of focus put on them trying to eat pancakes and continuing to be interrupted. So it was... like, for the parts that was the two of them, like, being... young Green Lanterns I liked, but the plot was just so all over the place that I didn't particularly like this volume. I much prefer the Hal Jordan and the Green Lanterns title if we're talking Rebirth Green Lantern.
All right. Okay.
So that's it for me. That is it for me. Would you like to share your Batman for this
My
week?
Batman pick, my rando Batman pick is going to be Batman Prey by Doug Moench.
Benny O'Neill?
Nope. Oh. Doug Moench. Doug Moench. Moench? Help me here. Is it...
I can't see it.
Moench.
Oh.
I'm not going to do it anymore. Anyway, Batman Prey.
One of those.
So this would be a collection of Legends of the Dark Knight 11 and 15 is the Batman Prey story. And then there's a sequel series in here. Gosh, Batman Terror? I could be wrong about what... It's in the collection. It's Legends of the Dark Knight 137 to 141. It basically is a direct sequel to this Batman Prey story. This is like the introduction of Hugo Strange like post-crisis universe stuff.
Okay.
So I think that makes it like 1989 or a little bit on. And yeah, it's just it's a first Hugo Strange story. He's bonkers as you can get. There's a lot of how much I hate him, how much I love him kind of stuff from Hugo Strange.
Okay.
You would kind of read it along the lines if you're doing like a post Batman Year One kind of read, because Catwoman's in here and everything. There's this what's the guy's name? Night Striker, Night Terror. He's clad in leather.
Night Scourge.
Night Scourge, yeah. He's got a sword. He's being sent out there to like be a bad Batman type character. It's kind of bonkers. It's very late 80s, early 90s, gritty stuff. But there's still a lot of the cool, weird stuff you like from like a Hugo Strange story and the whole like I don't know, madness stuff. And then like
I feel like if it's in Legends of the Dark Knight, it's going to be a little odd.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I usually find those stories to be a little like, huh.
Yeah, they seemed like they had a bit more of a free reign to do some weirder stuff. The sequel series that's in the collection, if you get the big trade, is a Scarecrow, is like the first interaction with Scarecrow, but it does continue on with the Hugo Strange stuff. So yeah, this was a book that I hadn't read until really recently, because I was like, oh, I've read all the Batman classics, what are else out there? And I picked this up and I was happy that there were still really good Batman stories for me to be reading, like these like Batman tales kind of stuff.
I haven't read this one, but I know we did discuss it over on the All the Books show in episode 212, if anybody would like to go and listen to further discussion of that.
And I had read it like kind of close to reading his appearances in Strange Apparitions.
Okay.
The Steve Englehart stuff. Like, I had read the Steve Englehart stuff first, and then I got a copy of this, and I was like, more... I felt like... And then I read Monster Men, which also had Hugo Strange. I was like on this weird, unintentional Hugo Strange kick. So... it's, I think if you find like the 70s kind of Batman stuff still a little bit too, I don't know, clean, or maybe not as gritty as you want your Batman stuff to go, but you want to read like a Hugo Strange thing, Batman Prey is the way to go. I still really like the Steve Englehart Strange Apparition stuff with Hugo Strange, but if you want something a bit more gritty, a bit darker than Batman Prey by Doug Munch is a good direction to go. So
I
don't know what he's
maybe
doing
I'll
these
check
days.
it out
Hugo Strange.
I don't know.
So,
hanging out on the series Gotham, right?
Nick,
Hugo Strange in there.
you're going into a comic book store. All you've got in your pocket is a quarter. What are you picking up today?
Well, Eric, I'm so glad you asked. Today I have, travel with me, if you will, to the year 1996, to a time when longtime rivals DC and Marvel decided, let's do a good mashup. Eric, I'm taking us into the world of Amalgam Comics.
Oh, boy.
With Amazon, number 1, by John Byrne and Terry Austin. First, I want to point out the Game Gear ad at the inside cover of this. Brought back a lot of good memories for me. Has an ad for VR Troopers, Return of the Jedi, Power Rangers. A lot of good stuff happening in this ad on the inside. So that was a taste. In full disclosure, I am not sure if I paid cover for this or if I found this later in a quarter bin, because I'm pretty sure at least with Super Soldier, the Captain America Superman hybrid, I think I did buy that new. But I think I maybe filled out the collection a little bit later. But did you read these at the time?
I didn't read these.
You weren't really reading comic books.
But I did buy the trade paperback kind of early on in my comic book reading, because I'm like, wow, this looks cool. How can I go wrong with a Marvel and DC collection? Well, the story could suck. But the whole concept is that, like, first they're fighting, and some of the fights are fun, and some of them are not satisfying in any way, because some of them are just, like, one panel. You just see them fighting. And then, like, it's like these realities are taking on personas. The DC Eternity or whatever in the Marvel one, and they're fighting, and then they, like, combine in the middle of the story. And it's when they combine that we get to this comic that you're reading, because now all the characters have integrated both their stories and names and powers. So this one, this comic you have wasn't in my collection. I think the only one I had in my collection in that trade was the Doctor Strange, Dr. Fate, Xavier mashup.
Yes.
So I
remember Super Soldier, Soldier, of course. And I remember the, like, Bruce Wayne Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. one
there was
really
Dark
well.
Claw. It was Batman.
Dark Claw.
Batman, Wolverine was Dark Claw, and they fought Hyena, which was a Joker Sabretooth thing. And Super Soldier was Captain America and Superman. And there was, like, a Spider-Man Superboy. I don't know why they thought Superboy was Spider-Man's counterpart.
Well, I think it's just the time. I think, like, 96, that leather jacket buzz cut Superboy was like all the rage. So I didn't read this Storm. I was excited about these. I remember liking the Superman one. I reread this today so that we could talk about it, and I genuinely have no memory of reading this one. Really? Okay. So maybe I did, and it was just in one ear and out the other.
She's just called Amazon.
Well, the title is Amazon, but she's referred to as Wonder Woman in the book. Throughout the book, she's just referred to as Wonder Woman. So Anyway, Princess Aurora / Wonder Woman is in a big fight with Poseidon, which leads us into a flashback. In the flashback, we see that little baby Aurora is a survivor of a shipwreck and is rescued by a mysterious hand. We don't know who that is.
Okay.
She snaps out of the flashback, only to find herself in Poseidon's throne room, looking around. Poseidon's underwater throne room, right? Back in Baton Rouge, psychic named Angelica is looking for Aurora. Instead, when she goes into her apartment, she finds a mysterious woman who looks very much like Diana Prince.
Where's Angelica come from?
I have no idea. Or Baton Rouge, I don't know why. Back in Poseidon's lair, Aurora finds a gold statue of a goddess, signaling another flashback. She remembers this statue from her childhood. It was a statue that her father had found in salvage, found it in the sea. Snap back to the present. Poseidon's here. He's back and he's pissed. And we learn that it was Poseidon who, in fact, destroyed the ship that Aurora's family was on because he wanted the statue back and was angry with her father for stealing it. Flashback again. We have young Aurora and Diana, who are clearly rivals, duking it out. And Diana saying things like, "You're not even a real Amazon. You're not even my real sister." And Hippolyta steps in and explains to Aurora that technically that is true, and that's not how they wanted her to find out, but they rescued her from a shipwreck and raised her as her daughter, and Aurora eventually, I assume, because it's not in here, defeats Diana and becomes a Wonder Woman, right? So back with Poseidon, Aurora learns that her birth family is cursed. Poseidon has put a curse on them, and he is going to kill Aurora as further retribution for what her father had done in stealing Poseidon's treasures. Okay. For some reason, I don't know why this works, Aurora is all tangled up and is about to die, and she reminds Poseidon that mankind has moved past caring about Poseidon and the other gods, but the Amazons still worship him, and they are still valuable to them, and she doesn't know if mankind will ever turn back to them.
Right.
And Poseidon lets her go. The end.
Huh. Yeah. Because they can't... So these are side stories, but they can't really affect the main story that's happening in amalgam.
Right, but I don't understand why they're not self-contained.
I don't know.
Just tell a one-issue story, because you never find out who Angelica is. You never find out why Diana is in Aurora's apartment. You never find out why she's fighting Poseidon. You just don't know anything that's happening. It doesn't really get into her background about whether or not she's a mutant and all that. It's just to be a one-issue thing. I feel like there's a world in which you can make that work, but it's not this one. And even the cover, it's very prominently number one. It doesn't say one shot or standalone or whatever. So there's absolutely no resolution.
The best DC Marvel crossover I ever read was the Kurt Busiek Justice League Avengers crossover. But it took me a long time to read that because I remember not being able to find a copy or something. Whereas this, I think I got the trade real cheap too. And even the comic book store guy was just like, enjoy. Because I was just like, wow, it's going to be the Hulk fighting Superman? This got to be worth it. And then it wasn't.
Yeah. No.
So I was definitely,
I remember Teen Titans X-Men being pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, that was a good crossover. Yeah.
I remember that being a good one.
Yeah, that's
I always
good,
loved the Superman Spider-Man crossover.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you recall, when we were interviewing Elliot S. Magan over on the All the Books show, we got to talking about this crossover a little bit, and he was saying that he was frustrated as the Superman writer that he didn't get an opportunity to write it, and he was frustrated that there's no time explaining how they happen to be in the same world.
Yeah.
You're just boom, right into it.
Yeah.
And that is a good point. They don't take any time to sort of be oh, it's a temporal nexus. It's nothing. It's just Superman and Spider-Man run into each other at the airport, and that's it.
So,
but they are fun. But the Amalgam comics,
they're hard to recommend. Maybe the art is when they get mixed up, seeing the art is kind of fun, the character designs.
Oh yeah.
But some of them are also just real bad. The Dark Claw one, the Wolverine Batman matchup is just ugh. No, I would not read this book.
I feel like this Wonder Woman Storm is a real sloppy crossover, because it's basically just Storm in a Wonder Woman costume, but she still has her cape.
Yeah.
And the
Shadow
the
King's
black
not in this,
from the
huh?
Cape... not in this.
Seems like a thing you do. Have have this Wonder Woman Storm interact with some kind of weird Shadow King mix. I don't know who you mix it up with.
Doesn't happen.
Yeah. Hades, I guess. Hades Shadow King.
This was kind of a bust.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe someday I'll grab Super Soldier and we can take a look at that too.
All right. You know what else was happening in 1996, Nick?
Tell me.
Island of Dr. Moreau hit theaters with Val Kilmer and Marlon Brando.
That was in theaters?
Yeah.
That's hard to hear.
You can hear Nick's real thoughts and opinions on the Island of Dr. Moreau over on Three Nice Things.
No, you can't hear my real thoughts.
Oh, that's right. He was being nice because of
approximation.
His co-host, yeah. So
the third co-host on there was a fan of the movie, and so I had to curb myself from being like, "This is a garbage piece of garbage."
So, but you still had to say nice things about it. Yeah,
I did, and that was the hardest it's ever been. So, do you know when you're going to drop Bulletproof Monk while we're talking Three Nice Things?
What's today? Sunday. We're recording it Monday. So
cool. Okay. Nice. Well, I look forward.
Yeah. So I don't know. Would you ever give anyone Amalgam Comics? I'm like, check this out. You probably wouldn't be so enthusiastic.
No, if I was going to do anything like that, I would give them that the collection I was talking a while back, the DC Marvel crossover classics that has Teen Titans, X-Men, and Batman, Hulk, and I would go there.
I have that. I have that single issue. Don't you?
I don't know if I have the single issue or not. I'll have to. It's been fun, like going through organizing my comics again, but I haven't come across that yet. But that's probably where I would go. That crossover classics, because it's just so fun.
Do you know when you found that Amazon in the quarter bin?
I remember when this was happening. That's what I mean. I honestly don't know if I just bought it in '96, new off the rack.
But it was just a quarter when you bought it.
You think?
Oh, okay. So you're not sure if it belongs in the quarter bin or not.
I honestly don't remember.
Right.
Because I know that I did pick up some along the way.
Right.
And I want to say that this one was one of those, but I'm pretty sure that I paid cover price for Super Soldier.
Marvel and DC both clinging to anything during the whole comic speculation boom. Just like, please, what if we mix them together?
Speaking of, do you remember that weird time when they had Stan Lee reimagined DC characters?
I think that was happening either right as I was getting into comics or not. I've never read these things. The Stan Lee presents Batman. Stan Lee presents Amazon. Yeah.
I remember there was a Robin that I always wanted to read, and I did flip through it in the comic book store, and it was just so foreign. I just didn't. He completely. It's not. It's just. He just uses the name Robin.
It's not really. What would Stan Lee have created Batman? It's.
No.
I don't know. It's a weird project that I do intend to read someday if I could find it.
It's much more like the latter day, post Marvel, light speed.
Those aren't on those aren't on the thing, the DC app.
The DC app. No, they're not, and it's too bad because I would kind of like to read them now. Yeah. And I looked for the Robin one. I wanted to read the Robin one. It's hard. It's expensive. It's hard to find. Yeah. So.
All right.
Anyway.
That's what we were reading.
All right. You want to? Yeah. My coffee is cold, but it started that way. So, did I mention my Monopoly mug? Do you like this?
I've
had this forever. We used to, when I was in college, everybody would come over to the little cabin that I lived in, and we played cards and stuff. And I always made us tea. And this mug, my roommate, Steve Rudd, would always use this mug. So, I have not used this mug in decades because to me, it's still Steve's mug.
Right.
Sentimental. I'm sentimental.
Yeah, you are. You're a sentimental guy. All right. That's the end. You can find more about this episode and others like it at radiomeanwhile.com, and you can find previous episodes of this there and on YouTube as well. So see what else we have been reading. Or don't.
Yeah.
Just watch it as it's released. You don't have to go back.
Choose what you like.
Yeah.
Choose what you like.
Yeah, if we were really completist, Nick, we would start this episode back to when all the comics we were reading in the past. Because there's so many comics now. And I'm like, now I'll never get to be like, oh, I'm reading this. Because I've read it.
That would be rough.
Yeah. That's why I did the whole Batman thing. And I know that's why you're doing the quarter bin thing. So, that's it. All right. Well, we'll see you next time to see what else we're reading. My guess is some Shadowman, but I don't know. I'm going to be interested to see where Nick goes post Avengers vs. X-Men. Because he's got some options there.
I've got a lot of different channels to take. I'm going to read some more classic Kirby, and I'm going to continue my 2011, 2012 Marvel run. See where that takes me.
Woo.
I also have Superman: The Oz Effect coming up next. So
Okay.
We'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know what else I got next. Yeah. Bye.